Welcome back to the WakeMan channel. Alright, so in this video I'm going to provide you with a surf wave performance comparison between my 2018 24 MXZ, my 2019 G23, and now my 2022 G23. Now I apologize if you hear any background noise. It's very windy out today. And I am out in my garage. I've been doing the vlogging part of my videos out in my garage lately with my boat because I think it makes the video a little bit more interesting rather than just sitting in my office. So now let's get into the subject of this video. And keep in mind, I made a video last year that was the most successful video that I produced in 2021, which was my Malibu versus Nautique comparison. And I'll put a link to that video right here in case you want to check it out. Now in that video, I specifically compared my 2018 24 MXZ to my 2019 G23. And I did not just compare wave performance, although that is one of the things I compared. I compared many features of the two boats. But in this video, I'm going to compare the 24 MXZ to the two different G23 waves in much more detail, and that's all I'm going to focus on. So to start out with, my 2018 24 MXZ was a nice, big, meaty wave. It had good length and had really good push. I was able to do lots of different tricks on that wave. The main things that I'm going to point out in this video are the length, the height, the girth, which I believe gives you your push, and the shape of the wave between each model. Now again, like I said, my 2018 24 MXZ had good length. I wouldn't say it's the longest wave out there, but it had really good length, and it had very good push. And it had a really nice shape to it, and the shape was adjustable. So for this video, I have each wave on my ideal settings. So for my 24 MXZ, I have all the ballast filled plus additional ballast. I think I had two 650-pound bags in the rear storage lockers, and I had the wedge deployed, and I believe I had the wedge deployed at, I believe, 3 notches from the steepest that it can get, because in a normal surf set I didn't like the steepest setting, and also it really worked the boat. In my experience, having the wedge set at the steepest setting for the wave, it would really make the boat work hard. It'd be kind of like, I want to say it'd be like 4,500 RPMs normally if you had it at the steepest level. So I would normally run it, I think it was 3 notches below the steepest, and every once in a while I'd go one notch up from that. And you can see in the 24 MXZ's wave that it has a nice shape to it. It's got really good height. So you have a lot of area to move back and forth on, move up and down on. I'm 6'2", 205 pounds. So you can use that information to kind of judge the wave. And also the clip that I'm using for my 24 MXZ was filmed on a GoPro 8, whereas the G23s were filmed on a GoPro 9. So keep that in mind. So and the angles are just slightly different, but for the most part you can see the same features. One of the things that I specifically noticed on my 24 MXZ that's different than both the G23 waves is that the 24 MXZ seems to have a very unique curl at the back of it. And honestly, I think if you were to multiply the size of the wave and end up with a 10-foot wave, then the curl that I got on my 24 MXZ would be what I imagine what a pro surfer would want out of an ocean wave so that they could get barreled. Now, does that help with wake surfing? I have no idea. So those are kind of some of the features that I noticed that kind of stand out about Malibu's wave. Now if we move on to the 2019 G23's wave, and on my 2019 G23, I had 1,000 pounds of extra weight in addition to the 2,850 pounds of stock weight. So that's how I had that boat loaded with weight. And on my 2019 G23, I would have it as steep as it would go. So I think it was like on the NCRS level 5. The length of the wave on the 2019 G23 is definitely shorter than my 2018 24 MXZ. Still had decent length, but was just noticeably shorter, so I didn't have as much room to move back and forth. The height of the wave is definitely not as tall as the 24 MXZ, so the 2019 G23 wave is not as tall. The girth of the wave, or the push, was pretty much right there with Malibu's. I didn't notice much of a difference in the amount of push, except for when you're in the very, very back. I thought Malibu's had a little bit more push to get you back in the wave. And that might be that curl, because I do notice that the curl on the 2019 G23 is not quite as crisp and clean in the very back. And although it does curl, again, the 24 MXZ's curl is what I imagine a pro surfer would idealize if it was a 10-foot wave. Again, I'm not sure if that's an advantage or not, but one of the things that I thought was a great feature of the 2019 G23 wave is its steepness. And you get that steepness without the boat working too hard. You can actually notice when you're looking at the video that there's this line or this crest that goes back, and that's kind of what you lip off of when you're doing airs. And that's one of the biggest things I noticed when riding the 2019 G23 compared to my 24 MXZ. It actually seemed like I could air out easier on the G23, and I think that's because of the steepness. Now, I think the steepness factor is great for somebody who's at least an intermediate to an advanced rider, but I think that the steepness to Nautique's wave, at least in 2019, probably doesn't lend itself so well to beginners, or people who are just learning how to surf, or somewhere around that range, because when you have a steeper wave, it's more abrupt, so you can actually end up kind of, when you come down, it maybe drop, or maybe get shot out of it easier. So I think that can be a downside, but I found it to be really fun for somebody at my level, and I would say I'm somewhere between intermediate and advanced. So I was able to air out a lot. So those are kind of the key features I noticed. You know, compared to the 24 MXZ, the G23 had a shorter wave for length, a shorter wave for height, and about the same amount of girth or push, and then it was a steeper wave. So now, if we move on to my 2022 G23, so I've been able to surf behind this 2022 G23 that I'm sitting on right now once last fall in October, and that's October 2021, and then I just got out on this here at the end of March again. So I've been able to surf behind it twice. Now my 2022 G23, I have all the stock weight. I don't have the supplemental ballast, but I do have 1,500 pounds of lead in addition to the stock 2,200 pounds worth of weight. And on my 2022 G23, I've had it on, I think, 8 so far. It's either 8, actually I think I had it on 9, and there's 10 settings, so it can go one steeper. So I haven't played with that too much. I think I played with it a little bit in October, and I didn't notice a heck of a lot of difference. So all three of these boats are weighted relatively the same as far as their capabilities go, because obviously the 24 MXZ is a longer boat. The 2019 G23 had more ballast weight capacity, but the 2022 G23 actually weighs more dry. So they're all pretty close in how much they were weighted. So now to talk about the specifics of the 2022 G23 wave. I feel like now on the 2022 G23, I have my length back that my 24 MXZ had. So it's either right around the same, or it's got to be close, whether it's a little bit shorter or a little bit longer. So the length is back, and also it's definitely a taller wave in height compared to the 2019 G23. I don't know if it's taller than the 24 MXZ. It's really hard to gauge. The 24 MXZ might be a little taller in height, and the girth actually seems like it's more than the 2019 G23 for sure. Not exactly sure whether the 24 MXZ has more girth or more push, or if the 2022 G23 has it, but they're very close. They both have a really good fat wave that's providing a lot of push. I noticed that a lot when I would kind of go to the back, or I feel like I'm falling out of the wave, and then when you get towards the back, it just pull you right back in. I mean, that's a really good sign that you have a lot of push in your wave. Also, the 2022 G23 has almost a mixed shape between my 2019 G23 and my 2018 24 MXZ. So you have Still a pretty steep wave, but not as steep as the 2019 G23 and not quite as laid out as the 24 MXZ, because you can still see that ridge line. Again, on Nautique, you kind of have what I call a ridge line, or a line there that you can see a little crest going through the wave, where I don't see that in the Malibu. But you can see that it's more laid out compared to the 2019 G23. I think what Nautique's doing is they're providing that wave that helps those beginners a little more, because you can dial it back with the rampiness of the wave, or you can get more steep with it. But I basically had it at the highest steepness you can go. And the 2022 G23 wave is still not quite as steep as the 2019 G23 wave. So it's kind of funny, because when I came from my 24 MXZ to the 2019 G23, I had to get used to that steepness and a little bit shorter wave. And now I'm going back, and now I have to get used to the 2022 G23 wave again, and it's got a little less steepness. But I think it's gonna be the best of both worlds. And honestly, after describing all the differences that I've noticed between all three of these waves, I'm not here to say that one is the best out of all of them. I think that totally depends on the rider and the rider's preference. I think that if you have the opportunity to ride behind any one of the three boats that I've described and compared in this video, I think you're gonna have fun, and I think you're gonna be lucky. I've enjoyed each of these boats, and I plan on continuing to enjoy this boat. So I hope that provides some information on the differences. But in the end, I think all three of these boats are producing great waves. And I basically just wanted to show you what I've been seeing and what I've been experiencing between the different boats that I've owned. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any thoughts on this video or ideas for future videos, please leave those in the comments below. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and click on the notifications bell so you can be notified of my future videos. I'll see you next week.